I'm Matt.
And I'm Nate.
And this is Not Quite Religious, a podcast where a Christian pastor, allegedly, and former evangelical turned atheist have conversations about faith, religion, philosophy, and life while drinking coffee.
Welcome to episode 56, the Resurrection Part 2.
Do you have French in your background?
Oui. Je parle français un peu. Parce que étudier pour 15 ans à l'école. And I'm sure our real French speakers are like, dude, you just butchered that. Mm-hmm. Because I skidded by. I took 5 years of French. My first year French teacher was too kind. And there were some kids in there who just railroaded her. To the point where, like, they stole her, like, seating chart, disciplinary book. She bought this book on, like, how to teach hard kids. And they, like, vandalized that.
Did you have the same French teacher I did?
Maybe. And she was like crying in the hallway a few times. I felt terrible for her. But there was another French teacher who kept their class in check. So when we got to French 2, like, I was super behind and didn't care enough to, like, work hard. But I took 5 years because if you took 5 years, you didn't have to take a language in college. And I was like, I want to just be done with this.
Yeah. I meant, like, do you have, like, a French heritage?
Oh,
like...
no. English and Irish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For some reason, I wouldn't be surprised.
If I was French?
Yeah.
Because I give up so easily?
The last name. The last name seems French to me.
It's made up. My mom she gave me a different last name for no reason whatsoever. It's not my father's nor my mother's last name.
Okay.
She allegedly was kicked out of the family, although it turns out a lot of the stories my mom told me growing up weren't true. And so instead of giving me the last name O'Keefe, which is all my family, I have Cartel. And my ancestors, like, there's an O'Keefe Castle in Ireland. Somehow one of the first people to die in the Easter Rebellion is related to me. And the family's gone over to Ireland a few times, and they're, like, widely warmly received because of the heritage of my family. But I get none of that.
Right. So what's myth is in England and Northern Europe is what Miller is in Central Europe.
Gotcha.
It's just basic laborer.
Yeah.
That's my dad's side, but my mom's maiden name is Kelly. Very Irish.
Yeah.
O'Kelly.
Yeah, I was going to say, it had no end at some point.
At some point it was...
They dropped it to get the...
At some point it was C-A-L-E...
I-G-H.
I-G-H. And then, they came to...
before that...
They came to Ellis Island and they're like, that's K-E-L-L-E-Y.
Yeah. Before that it was probably Q7. like the first time I saw Siobhan spelled out, I was like, no, that doesn't spell Siobhan. That spells Siobhan.
Right. Exactly. So our first episode that we just tried to do, if you took our advice and are listening consecutively, then that's a good thing, because we've been on hiatus for 4 months due to things, and we used to have the premium podcast package, and you canceled that. And so our first podcast, we didn't realize until after we hit record that we were only going to be able to talk for, what was it, 15 minutes?
Yeah.
And so we had to cut that one shorter than usual. We
never talk for only 15 minutes.
Never. It's usually like between 50 and I think we shoot for 50, and most of our episodes end up being like 70.
Yeah.
75.
Not quite, but
yeah.
An hour and 2 minutes would not be unexpected.
Totally. And so here we are again with the plan. We don't really have much of a plan with these episodes. I think we're just trying to spitball.
Get back in the swing.
Get back in the swing. Get practice to what we're doing. We did get enough time in the last episode to rate the coffee. Mm-hmm. It's the Mocha Joe's, Costa Rica Mocha Joe's, being the coffee shop that where I buy my coffee from up in Brattleboro, Vermont. And Nate's reviews are raving.
9.8.
9.8, which...
One of the best cups of coffee I've ever had.
Like nearly perfect.
Yeah.
It's approaching...
Civet poop is the only thing that I could imagine would be any better.
Right. It's approaching... I hope some of our audience get this reference. 9.8 is approaching Gail Bedecker style coffee.
I don't know. I don't get
You haven't watched Breaking Bad that far.
Actually, we're almost done with Breaking Bad.
Okay.
I finally started it, and holy crap.
Good, right?
Yeah, I just can't wait for Walter to die. He's such a terrible person.
He's a terrible person.
I'm like, I just want you to die already.
I love how Vince does that. It's like in season 1, he gets you kind of on his side, even though you're not completely like...
Yeah, you're like, he's a bad guy, but I get it.
I get it. Like, and he's the protagonist, but you realize by season 5 that the whole point of the show is the director Vince Gilligan is trying to see if he can get you to root against the protagonist, which clearly...
he's just such a narcissist. Like, there were a few times in season 4 where you're like, but like the turning point really, I think in season 5, spoiler alert, is when
2013
he's offered $5 million to walk away and sell the methylamine. Mm-hmm. Right? And they're like, that's more than you've ever seen. Like, he's been doing this drug thing. I think the whole series is like a year and a half in real time.
Yeah, but like a year of it's like him in New Hampshire. Like in a cabin.
Yeah, and he's like not making any money, right? So he's doing this unbelievable math and he's getting like $10 an hour for his labor. Uh-huh. Not quite, but the most he's had in his hand was like $400,000. Uh-huh. And it was when he was just working for a drug lord, not when he tried to take it over. And they're like, well, we can have $5 million and just walk away. And he's like, no. I'm like, you're an idiot. Like, just take everyone above you has been murdered. Like, you have the opportunity to not be murdered and have $5 million cash.
Right.
Like, take the money.
Right. And what's the line? He's like,
I'm building an empire.
He's like, I'm not in the, you asked me what I'm in. I'm in the
empire business.
I'm in the empire business. I'm not in the meth business or the money business.
Yeah.
So that's where you got off the Walter train?
I mean, a little bit before that, but that's where you're just like, dude, like you're done. It's time.
Yeah. I think that's a good spot to get off.
Yeah.
That's an interesting conversation with Breaking Bad fans. Is like, when did you get off the Walter train?
I mean, I think I got off before, except you still kind of root for him against Chicken Man, Pollo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you root for him against Gus a little bit. But also then that I didn't mean for this to be a Breaking Bad episode, but you root against Gus. I mean, you root for Gus against
the cartel.
The cartel.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite episodes when Gus... total spoiler alerts, but when he gets his revenge on everyone. Only to die like 2 episodes later.
Right.
It's tragic.
To get blown up.
To become Two-Face. For like a minute. By the way, that's what would really happen, I think.
You become Two-Face?
Like, Two-Face would die instantly almost after becoming Two-Face.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Like, he wouldn't just be walking around with half a face.
Yeah. I mean, the trauma would kick in for a second, right? And you wouldn't feel any pain, and then you would just, like, the adrenaline would go away and you'd fall.
Right.
And that would be that.
Right.
So does that mean we're doing another Batman episode right now, too?
I don't know. I've watched Batman recently, actually.
Which one?
I watched The Batman, the most recent one, and then compared it to The Dark Knight. Mm-hmm. Just because I'm a nerd and I do those kind of things. And I think The Dark Knight hasn't aged super awesome.
Huh.
I mean, it's a classic.
Yeah.
But in 2023, if I had to spend 3 hours watching a Batman movie and I could only watch one, I'd watch The Batman.
Yeah, so when Batman The Dark Knight came out, I wrote this essentially book on it and culture, and then the premise was like postmodernism is sort of done, and the contradiction between Batman's hard lines and straight stuff and technology versus the Joker's like blurry lines was, I think, that was the driver of the story. And yeah, I don't think that dichotomy exists in our society much anymore. I think it's all blurry lines.
Yeah, interesting. I just think what made that movie just Ledger's performance.
Yeah.
That's why, and that performance is indelible, so that movie will always be worth watching, if nothing else. For that, even if like none of the cultural stuff seems relevant anymore, just that performance just pops so much, and it never gets old, and it never ages. But when you saw it the first time, I don't know. I don't think I can ever get that experience back.
Yeah, when I saw it the first time, I was like, "This is the greatest movie I've ever seen in my life."
I mean, like because you didn't have the MCU, you didn't have like all of these comic book movies. You weren't expecting another comic book movie to come out in 2 weeks like you are now.
Yeah,
and like it'd been a long time since you saw a good Batman movie.
Yes,
like since the early '90s, basically.
Yeah,
unless you like Batman Forever, but like. No. Which is just like Ace Ventura with people in bat suits or whatever. Yeah. So all of that combined, and up until that point, I think, or at least me, the way I thought of Heath Ledger is like the guy from rom-coms.
Right. Yeah. 10 Things I Hate About You.
Yeah.
Singing in the bleachers.
Yeah. I was like super intrigued to see how he was going to pull it off, and I was like, I don't even recognize him.
Yeah. The
voice is different. He's got the face paint on, like. That performance is, top 10 of all time in any genre.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think that's why it still lives. I think the themes are,
yeah, they
little 2008.
Did you watch The Flash?
No.
Yeah, it's a terrible movie.
Mm-hmm.
I watched it actually. Xander, he didn't even make it through the whole thing. He was like, let's turn this off. I want to watch the TV show because Barry Allen is so much better. But I pushed through just because, and the only redeeming part is, he opens up the DC multiverse, whatever. And you see all the old characters. So, like, Michael Keaton's Batman becomes a character.
Yeah,
and like
I saw that.
So you're like, and then George Clooney when he goes back when
George Clooney's in it,
and he's the last Batman you see. So Barry Allen fixes everything, and he goes back to the future where it's supposed to be like his universe.
Yeah,
except George Clooney is now Batman instead of Ben Affleck. Yeah, but you also see like Christopher Reeve's like. Old Superman movies in there, like so you see everything, and I was like, okay, that's cool. All the rest of this movie was like, I was like, that could have been a 10-minute like short, and I would have been thoroughly enjoyed. But it was terrible, awful.
Yeah,
they just keep getting worse. Like, they should reset.
Well, I wonder.
I think they're too far in.
They'll stop when it stops being a cash cow.
I don't think that's true because wasn't Batman vs Superman like?
Oh.
I don't know. I think they're operating on the sunk cost fallacy at this point. They've invested too much to get out.
Well, the Batman made a lot.
That's true, but it's not part of the same. I guess it would be because it's a DC Comics cinematic, but it feels like it's a different universe, especially since like you're having the Batman with the Aquaman.
Yeah, I don't keep track of all of that. I think that it's under the same.
Yeah. In
terms of profit.
Yeah, sure.
It's going to the same place. But I think there's actually 3 different universes going on right now in DC. There's also the Joker universe.
Yeah.
Which I don't think they're trying to blend with anything else.
Yeah, that's true.
And that a Joker 2 is supposed to be coming out next year or something, or the year after. And they got Lady Gaga as...
she's a surprisingly good actress.
As Harley Quinn.
They're not using the same Harley Quinn that's been in all the others?
No, so because it's a totally different universe.
That's stupid. But she was in American Horror Story for a few seasons.
Yeah.
She was really good.
Yeah. She was good in that movie with Bradley Cooper that I didn't watch.
I have no idea who Bradley Cooper is.
Really?
I'm really bad with celebrity names.
I don't know.
I'm sure if I saw him, I'd be like, oh, that guy.
The guy from The Hangover.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
A Star is Born is the name of the movie.
Okay, I haven't seen that.
It's about like 2 country singers. I just feel like they probably make out all the time and sing country music, which doesn't sound like what I want to spend 2 hours doing. But we're
just doing a pop culture episode all of a sudden.
There's probably somebody in the audience that's watched that movie and they're like, I love it. It's not that. It's super deep and moving. And I'm like, oh, sorry.
Yeah, they got a remix of Fast Car in it.
You lost me at country music star.
No, I've hit the age, and maybe it's 43, where my Spotify has started recommending some country songs, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to thumb up this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I listened to when I was a kid. That's what my dad listened to.
It's more like the Something in the Orange, like those like bluegrassy country ones.
Yeah, there's good country out there.
Yeah.
But the stuff that's on the radio, like the pop country's just awful.
Yeah, every time it recommends Keith Urban, I try, and I'm like, and I'm skipping it.
Right. But yeah, I grew up in the 80s listening to country, and actually like popular country in the 80s.
Achy Breaky Heart.
That's in the more 90s, but
I guess that isn't.
Not that. Like,
I had a huge crush on Shania Twain, though.
Didn't we all? Everybody. You can make an argument that Garth Brooks killed the country in the 90s. But the 80s, I think was a good era for pop country. It was the neo-traditionalist movement, they called it in the 80s. So I'm going to be done after this and just throw out a couple names.
No, you're good.
So Randy Travis, Dwight Yoakam.
Dwight Yoakam sounds like a 1905 White Sox player.
He does. Listen,
and you got to say it with like that old timey accent. And Dwight Yoakam coming up to bat, number 54.
When I was a kid, I thought
such a terrible.
I thought his stage name was The White Yoakam. And I asked my mom, what is a
what's a white yokum?
What's a yokum? And are they all white? She was like, no, it's Dwight. His first name's Dwight. I'm like, oh.
That makes way more sense.
Dwight. What a weird name. I hadn't heard the first name before, so that's why my brain went to Dwight.
And then you moved to Scranton, which we all know.
Yeah. And the most famous Dwight.
Yeah.
Up until then, I think Dwight Yoakam was the most famous Dwight.
Probably. But then you got Beats, Bears, and Battlestar Galactica.
And now Rainn Wilson can't even use his own name. He's Dwight forever, just like Urkel is Urkel forever.
That's true. And Screech is Screech forever.
Screech died.
Did he?
I'm pretty sure.
Huh. I didn't know that.
I almost said I
almost said the actor's name.
What is the actor? The actor's name is Dustin Diamond.
Yeah.
But I almost referred to the actor as Samuel Powers. Which is his actual
if we're not dating if we didn't date ourselves last episode.
Right, that's what these episodes are about. They're about just
two old men talking about the good old days.
Exennials. Remember the 80s? Which now the kids refer to as the 1900s.
Yeah.
Right. Back in the 1900s.
Right.
Like, no. The 1900s is the 1900s. Like 1906.
Yeah. Yeah, that's... Huh.
I'm not like Joe Biden's age.
Right.
I'm still hip. I don't have hip surgery.
No. I think, was it this episode I said it, in the last episode? Living in a college satellite town, I do get to stay up on the trends a little more. And having teens.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. But that just means, I feel like in 7 or 8 years, like when your kids are off into college, and my kids are in their teens, that will reverse.
That I won't be on trend?
Like, I'll be hipper than you. Like in 2030.
No, because I'm going to still work at a college, potentially.
That's true.
And I got 6 kids, man. I'm going to be hip. Sebastian is only 3.5.
Yeah, that's a good point. You're going to be hip
and I'm going to
forever.
be like the 60-year-old who's still, like, you know how, like, Joe Rogan dresses trendy? Or
Does he?
I think so. Maybe not.
I feel like he just wears muscle shirts.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Who's the couple that had the reality TV show where she had the Karen haircut and they ended up getting divorced?
Oh, yeah. Isn't her name Karen? No, it's Kate.
You know what I'm talking about, though?
Yeah, Kate plus 8 or whatever.
Yeah. Like, the husband and her, like, dressed super trendy at the time. He was wearing, like, $400 T-shirts. Like, that's just going to be me. They're going to be like, why is that 60-year-old? Like,
yeah, but a t-shirt's a t-shirt, though.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, my
Depends on what's on
I
it,
wear,
I guess.
like, so for a while, when I was a pastor, I used to wear button-downs all the time. Button-downs and jeans was, like, my go-to. And then I became a chef, and you wore chef clothes, and then I was self-employed, and I wore jeans and t-shirts. And mostly because, underneath your chef coat, you wore t-shirts. And now, with my job, I have to dress business casual most of the time. And the dress shirts I have now are nothing like the dress shirts I had when I was a pastor.
Yeah.
Like, there's no rhinestones on the back. There's no, like, crazy embroidered pattern. Like, t-shirts are t-shirts, but I think, like, they change. Because, like, graphic t-shirts were, like, super big 10 years ago.
Are we talking about button-downs or are we talking about t-shirts?
Both.
Okay.
I know. I'm all over the place.
But I don't mean to sound super fashion ignorant when I say t-shirts are t-shirts, because I realize the $800 t-shirts must have something to them, particularly, probably, I imagine, in terms of just overall quality of the material.
Potentially.
Is probably better, maybe. But I'm just imagining, like, the guy you're talking about from Kate Plus 8 or whatever that has an $800 t-shirt. Like, it's not just a white tee, right? Like,
right.
There's some kind of design on it.
Yeah.
There's
Right.
something going on there. Yeah. And it's not just something you'd get from...
No, it was like a, special designer. You have to go to Beverly Hills, Rodeo Drive.
Yeah, and just say something like gross, like a t-shirt you get from Spencer's or something, or like...
Oh, Spencer's Gifts?
Yeah. We're continuing...
That's not what we used to buy at Spencer's Gifts.
To date ourselves. Maybe I'm thinking Hot Topic.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. I get those two mixed up.
Yeah.
No, Spencer's is...
Spencer's had that back row.
Yeah, the back room. It's deeper than Hot Topic. Hot Topic's for, like, the surface level emo kids.
Like, I feel like to actually buy something at Spencer's that isn't ironic, you've got to be in deep to the...
Yeah.
I want to look like a 1980s punk person.
Yeah. I mean, I was a Christian kid in the 90s, so I did youth group and all that. So
you had the wallet chain?
I'd just walk by Spencer's and be like, oh, isn't that cute? Totally happy and naive. I never did do the wallet chain. There's a part of me that wanted to be a skater.
Yeah.
I never had the courage, I'll put it this way. I never had the courage to care about fashion until my 30s.
I had a wallet chain.
So I always marveled at people that were like, they just went for it. They're like, growing up in my teen years and in my 20s, they just picked a thing, it seemed like. From the outside, that's what it seemed like to me. They just picked a thing and then did that. So prep, nerd, skater, emo, goth, punk. That's kind of what it was when I was coming up.
Yeah. I tried to be fashionable. Excuse me. Unfortunately, my mom was psychotic and a bit abusive, and so she wouldn't let me pick out my own clothes.
Yeah.
Like, she would legit pick it. So, I figured out workarounds. Like, I would hide clothes in my locker at high school and sometimes change. But at the end of the day, like, I only had the pants I had or the shirts I had. So, I don't think I was very trendy. She thought I was going to win Best Dressed because I was her little doll.
Yeah.
But I did not. Because it turns out a 50 to 60-year-old woman cannot pick out clothes that other teenagers are like, wow.
Right.
That looks really nice.
So your mom wasn't hip.
Yeah.
Unlike you.
Yeah. But I only had the wallet chain because I did skate.
You did?
Uh-huh.
Cool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I had the bumper sticker on the bottom of my skateboard that said "Bad Cop, No Donut," and "Skateboarding's not a crime." And
nice.
We'd go. There was a skate park in Rentham, like Half Pipes and all of that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Those were the kids that I looked up to.
I have a really
Like,
nasty scar on my knee because we were like speed skating down a hill, and I wore pads because we were like I didn't wear a helmet, but we were doing like legit stuff that you wore pads and wasn't considered dorky. And I was going so fast that the pads ripped off my knees when I fell, and then the skin flapped open and you could like see the bone.
Oh.
Yeah. It was gnarly.
You were like, for real.
Yeah.
Like real.
Yeah. Like not jackass level skater, but.
Yeah, not just like hanging out at the 7-Eleven with your skateboard.
No, we would like sit in the parking lot and like, all right, let's practice kick flipping. Oh, we just watched Gleaming the Cube. And now we're we're gonna try to do those tricks.
Totally beyond me. Did you do like the little finger skateboard
we had
thing?
one, but no, it was.
Yeah, I was happy like around the late 2000s, early 2010s, like when hipster became the sort of fashion.
Yeah.
Before it got commercialized.
Yeah.
Before it became like a
thing.
Like if you're a hipster, you have to wear skinny jeans.
Yeah.
Back in like the late 2000s, when it was coming up and that kind of fashion was still underground, it basically meant whatever you want, like whatever you want to put together, which was like great for me because you could be considered stylish just as long as it was like your own.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, that takes little work. Mm-hmm. To me, it just takes going to the thrift store and being like,
I like that.
Like, I don't see anybody wearing that, or I don't see anybody wearing that combo. I will do that. That was my fashion sense until I woke up one morning and realized I was a dad, which was like 2 kids in.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I can't really like. I don't know when that happens. When you go, I'm not allowed to. Like, I can be cool for being a dad, but
yeah. So I don't know if I had that realization till like the 4th kid, but I was also. I mean, we had our first kid at 26 and 25, respectively. Mm-hmm. So I feel like in a college town at 25, there's grad students who are older than you. Like, you're still allowed to be trendy.
Interesting.
You know, I think. Or I was just deluded in my pastor days thinking, like, oh, I dress cool because I'm the cool pastor. Yeah. Which definitely, like, that was part of Acts 29 back in the day, too. Like, oh, he's preaching in jeans and a t-shirt,
but has a
faux hawk.
But I have to say, there was a distinct difference between people who were trying and people who got it.
Yeah.
And, you know, you were one of the people that I think got it. Which I would say was about like 20%. At least when I went to the things in New England.
Yeah.
It's like everybody here is trying, but only some people can tell the difference between good plaid and bad plaid.
Yeah, I mean, I just, like, it was my fashion at the time. So it wasn't even like I went looking for it and now I have to fit in.
Right.
I, like, went to, like, the first Acts 29 thing. I'm like, they're wearing the same thing I am, and they look cool.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And it was, like, the band. I was like, the band and me have, like, yeah.
I should be in the band. Why am I not in the band?
But so it was just, like, my style fell into Acts 29.
Somebody toss me a cowbell.
So religion.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I hinted at the beginning, but I was joking, and it was a reference to the last podcast that maybe I was only allegedly a Christian pastor at this point. Because I just think it's funny.
I mean, some people would say you're only allegedly a Christian pastor.
Fair enough.
We talked about that in our episode 5 months ago.
Fair enough. But no, I'm still a Christian pastor. I'm still at the same church.
You're even wearing a cross necklace.
That's true. Yeah, thanks for giving that visual. Totally. And my cat chewed on it, so it's like 2009 hipster.
It's pretty, Like, if I were going to wear a cross necklace, that's the kind I would go for.
I mean, it's not.
And it doesn't look like your cat chewed on it. It looks more like it was like super formed in a. Like somebody found a piece of wood and like devoted their time to whittling it down to. Yeah.
So, I recently went to this. My kids go to a.
Don't say it.
I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it. But I recently went to a thing, and now that I have to, never mind. I can't even tell the story now.
Yeah, you can.
Now that I mentioned the kids. All right, I went to a thing with a bunch of Catholics. Were there? And like, I got a lot of comments about this cross necklace, like a lot, and
like in a good way or a bad. I guess Catholics are like the people who still wear crosses because I don't think Protestants do it anymore. That was a trend.
Catholics will wear. I think they more often wear crucifixes.
Oh yeah, right.
Where Jesus, Jesus is actually on it.
That's 100%.
And so first of all, I'm not wearing a crucifix, and second of all, I think a lot of them thought I was desacralizing it, which makes me think. I wonder if some people in Brattleboro who don't know that I'm a pastor see this cross necklace and think it's like an anti-Christian statement.
Huh?
Like I'm being.
That's way too meta. You're so
being ironic.
Yeah.
That's way too meta, isn't it?
It really
I'm
is.
overthinking this.
Yeah.
They're probably just looking at it and going, "Oh, that guy's wearing a cross in public. That's interesting."
Yeah, or like, when I see people wearing cross necklaces, when I see females wearing cross necklaces, I don't think you're a Christian. I'm like, oh, like, your mom gave you that at communion and you think it's really pretty. Or I don't notice whatsoever. If I saw a dude wearing a cross necklace 20 years ago, I'd be like, oh yeah, you're just trying to be cool and
yeah.
But today, if I saw a dude wearing a cross necklace, I'd be like, you're a Christian.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you do that.
Yeah, this is my way of sort of signaling that without wearing a robe and what do they call collar?
Yeah,
collar.
There's a special name for it, I thought.
I'm just going to call it a collar because I think our
or
audience knows what I'm
a
talking
T-shirt
about.
that says, I wear this cross around my neck because it's easier than wearing one on my back. Real T-shirt.
I'm not sure Jesus wants me to laugh at that, but I can't help it. That's bad. I saw a T-shirt once that said they will know we are Christians by our T-shirts.
That's hilarious.
I
would wear that T-shirt.
Which I've always
If
loved.
anyone wants to send me that T-shirt, I will Instagram the heck out of that.
Which is, for my money, a great T-shirt. So I guess I am sort of like, quote unquote, not virtue signaling, but I'm signaling. I have a friend in town, a black woman clergy, who does wear a collar around.
Episcopal?
Yeah. And she gets bombarded, like in a good way.
Yeah.
Like people just stop and be like, "What are you about?" Like, what is this? But I think me being a white dude with a beard, I don't know if beard has anything to do with it, but me doing a white dude walking around with like a collar, I think it would have the opposite effect.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it would be more like,
yeah, get away from me, weirdo.
Unless you were already a Christian or already a Catholic, and then people would just call me father.
Yeah.
Like, Father, I have to make you this confession.
Yeah.
But this is a way for people to know, and also I think like a place like Brattleboro is almost so post-secular that there's an intrigue to it. But that might be meta too. It might just be like repelling half my neighbors by wearing
I know.
a cross.
So actually, you saying that, our Stop and Shop has a worker who they have some needs.
Yeah.
And they're not like they're functioning at, pretty high level, but you can tell that something's just a little off. And they had a tattoo the other day. They got a new tattoo, and it was the sign of the Trinity. Mm-hmm. Right? And so the people in front of me asked, like, what's that tattoo? And I looked and I was like, oh, it's the sign of the Trinity. He's like, it's the sign of the Trinity, but I didn't get it for that. I got it because it's also the sign of the mood goddess from this religion.
Yeah.
Who means like chaos and destruction. And I'm like, what? like so he was so post-Christian that he used a Christian symbol that may have been co-opted from this moon goddess to represent an anti-Christian sentiment of worshiping this moon goddess.
Yeah.
Oh,
and the other thing that I think to myself is like, you know what? I am a pastor. Like, straight up.
Right.
And if anybody gets to know me for any amount of time, they're going to find that out.
Yeah.
Like within 1 or 2 or 3 conversations. So what's the point of like
hiding,
trying to act like I'm just, that I'm not that.
Right.
I might as well And then the people that are repelled by Christianity are going to be repelled by that first conversation anyway.
Right.
Like, what do? I'm a pastor. Whether I'm wearing a cross or not, if they're off that boat, they're already off that boat.
Yeah.
And the people that are intrigued are already going to be intrigued anyway.
Yeah.
So I might as well wear it as a conversation starter, because this is me overthinking even.
I don't think it's overthinking. I think it's completely fair.
Like, so I'm just saying I might as well do something that signals, yeah, I'm this. If you need somebody to talk to, I'm here. Like, I'm in public.
Yeah. I'm
not in my library, in my study. Like, right. And if not, that's fine too. And I'm approachable in that way, but I'm not wearing a collar. Like,
yeah,
I'm here to throw communion bread at you or something.
Like frisbees. Pew pew.
Yeah, my friend who I was talking about before, the black woman who's clergy, for Ash Wednesday, she actually stood outside a restaurant in Brattleboro and just freely offered ashes.
Yeah,
to anyone, and it made the paper. And
that's funny because the Episcopal Church in Amherst does that. There's two of them, and they're just like there, and they're like in the Lutheran too, I think.
Yeah,
yeah, like in the middle of town with their ashes, and you'll see some even college students where I'm like, you can't wear that outfit and put ashes on your head. like you're not actually a Christian. You're just like, you went to First Communion and probably did something like when you were a baby, you got dunked or something.
You can't be walking around in outfits from Spencer's.
There's been more than that.
Yeah.
The college trend is like, we try to keep this family safe. The college trends are things where I'm like, that's lingerie.
Yeah.
But yeah, they'll just like, random college students will stop and they'll get the ashes on their forehead. And I'm like, you don't go to church. But there's still, even though we are a little post-Christian, there's still like a collective memory of like, I should do this. And when you ask them why, I guarantee you they have no idea. They're like, well, it's Wednesday.
Right. Interesting. Because I was just about to say, isn't there something gospel about that? Like, isn't there something New Testament about? It's sort of like when Jesus is hanging out with the tax collectors and the quote unquote sinners,
mm-hmm.
and the Pharisees are like, why are you hanging out with these people? And I know we have all sorts of images for how we imagine that, but I like to think of as many ways of imagining that dynamic as possible. So the image of like people who aren't even Christian walking around with ashes while wearing lingerie, not knowing what it is, but just like thinking it's cool. While I know what Ash Wednesday is about, just that image actually brings a smile to my face. It's actually like, from my vantage point, like the gospel is so free. Like, now, I know there are people that would be like, well, is any repentance involved there?
Right.
And you're like, well, obviously no. And I get your point and I get what you're getting at. I'm just talking about the image. I'm not saying that because some girl in lingerie put ashes on her head that she's going to heaven when she dies. I'm just saying if I walked by that on a normal day, I'd be like, Jesus is diverse. He's not just found on people who wear crosses around their neck or collars on their shirts, or he's not, you don't conjure him up with incense. You don't, we're going to have a Jesus seance. Everybody get your, but he's with the girl that's in lingerie.
Yeah.
Even if she doesn't know it.
You phrasing it that way makes it kind of beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of me mocking.
See what I did there?
Yeah, I do. I had something and I lost it. Radio silence is totally awesome.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah, and from time to time I do get questions about what I do because I'm wearing a cross, and people assume the answer is going to be what it ends up being.
Yeah.
And some people just kind of go, and then other people engage. So it's a good conversation starter.
I have 2 cross tattoos. on me, and very much for opposite but similar reasons, I try to cover them at work. Because it's not my identity anymore, and I know that like there are people who get cross tattoos with like their granddad's name in it, or like love mom, or I think a lot of military veterans and their wives and things like that. But I think the average person, unless they're a Christian, it's very rare that they're going to have a cross on them.
Right.
And so for both not turning on Christians to thinking that I'm in their tribe, and also for not turning off people who...
Right.
And when I was interviewed for one of my jobs, I did not get this job, but it was like a 15-person interview, and one of the people just kept harping that I was a pastor in my previous life on my resume. Uh-huh. And first off, you're not allowed to talk. Like, they're not allowed to ask me my religion, but I'm not leaving a 10-year gap in my resume. Like, what'd you do? I lived in the woods. I don't... Right?
Right.
And so very delicately, I was like, well, like, what I learned from being a pastor is organizational skills and fundraising and people. Mm-hmm. And they're like, yeah, but, if you're going to work for our organization, like, how do you think this would fit? And I'm like, I know what you were asking. And what you're asking is, like, how does a conservative evangelical fit into a company that values diversity? And, like, this person was clearly not cis, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, but I'm not getting into that because it doesn't matter, right? But also, I'm like, well, my worldview changed.
Yeah. Did you say that?
I think I it's hard to remember.
Yeah.
I think I was actually more frustrated with them for trying to get around questions that are actually illegal. And I'm pretty sure there's a possibility I didn't get that job simply because she was so angry that I had passed her on. And I wanted to be like, actually, I have a partner who doesn't identify, like, like my daughter is, like, identifies, uses the pronouns they, them. Right. And I want to be like, well, here, and like my other daughter thinks they're a lesbian, and like, here, this, that. And I was kind of like, at the end of the day, I'm like, it doesn't, I don't know if it matters. Like, but all that to say, I do now try to hide my Christian tattoos. So I guess I'm a walking contradiction.
No, I don't think so. I think everything you just said makes total sense. Yeah. You don't want to identify as something that you're not, and you're in a position where you have a radically different worldview than the one that you used to have.
Right.
Which isn't like, I don't think the majority of people, that the difference between who they were and who they are now is quite that radical. I mean, maybe I'm just spitballing there. I don't know. But like, so in the interest of authenticity, but then like you said, it totally makes sense. You're in this position where you can't leave a 10-year gap on your resume. And actually, you're not lying. You're not like BSing when you say, I learned organizational skills. I learned how to manage people.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, if someone's a Christian or a Muslim or a Buddhist, if they can do the job better, like...
And none of that should matter. Right. Like, the stuff that actually matters is the skills. That's what they're looking for.
Right. Unless you're working for a Christian organization and you're a Buddhist. And they're like, our goal is to spread the gospel. And you're like, well, right?
Right.
Like, you can't be a Christian missionary without being a Christian, but almost any other job.
Yeah. It has to go all ways.
Yeah.
It has to go all ways. Yeah. So I don't want to veer off into like, I feel like we're nearing the end of a podcast or an episode where I want to talk about wokeness, but I'm not going to.
Well, yeah. I mean,
because it's too big a topic.
Right. Like the liberals who value diversity potentially didn't hire me because they thought I was an evangelical Christian, even though I wasn't, and was way more in their camp than they knew. But I didn't care to discuss it because it's illegal to talk about and should have no bearing on the job whatsoever.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is like a liberal position, but also like the right one. And I think one like 85% of people in America would be like, yeah, or more, 95%.
Yeah.
That's how we should hire. Somebody shouldn't not get a job because 10 years ago,
only the extreme woke. I don't even like using that word.
I don't either.
The extreme liberals who are like, no, we have to like burn every Christian. I'm like, no, that doesn't work. That spreads the gospel. Stop that. Speaking of diversity, where I work, I'm the white guy in the office, which is hilarious. Like, I brought diversity by being male into the office where I work.
Right. I'm like that with a certain... I'm like that in our clergy group.
Yeah.
Actually, most of the things that I volunteer for that have anything to do with social justice.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
I'm the token white guy.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting phenomenon. But actually, like in Brattleboro, there's two pastor groups, and there's I call them the evangelicals and the not evangelicals. It's like the simplest way.
Yeah.
And the
evangelicals are all white guys, right?
All white guys. All white guys. And then the other side, I'm like one of two white guys. Three. There's three.
One of them's a Catholic priest, though.
White pastors. And I'm talking about like a range of like... No, the Catholic priest wants nothing to do with either of those groups. So I guess there's a third group where it's like... He literally is like, I cannot condescend to this malarkey. Just standing over everybody. Because they're the church, right? The rest of us are play acting.
Well, they let Anglicans in, right? They're like, you guys are okay now?
Depends.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on what the function is.
Right.
What the thing is that they're doing. I don't think they're going to let Anglicans take communion. But they can work together on like some sort of like missional project or political project.
Gotcha.
And when I say Anglican, I'm differentiating that from Episcopalian.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean Anglican.
Yeah, like they tend to
Henry VIII. Like.
Right. So there definitely is, the conservative Episcopalian, the mainline Episcopalian church, the Catholic Church would want nothing to do with it at all. Actually, the new priest in town. No, I'm not going to blow up his spot. Not that anybody knows him, but maybe this will lure Tristan. It's just he's a I call him a crusader. He's like a conservative crusader, and
like social crusader, like trying to change.
Yeah, like in a reactionary way. So, like, theologically, very different than, conservative Protestant evangelical, but, like, politically, the same.
Yeah.
The same kind of mindset. I mean, not as yelly. Not as red-faced.
More singy-songy.
But same, like, we need to be...
Hold back the...
Yeah, we need to...
Close the gates.
We need to oppose the culture, and there's, like, a part of me... There's a legitimate part of me that admires it. Not the content of what he actually thinks, but the fact that, like, he came to Brattleboro with that agenda.
Yeah.
Knowing what kind of town he was dealing with.
Do you get to... Here's a question for our Catholic listeners. Like, did he get to choose to come to Brattleboro, or was he just assigned and decided?
That's a good point.
Right?
Yeah, he was probably just assigned.
But he might have been assigned because they're like, wow, you're a crusader.
Right.
Why don't you go here?
Right. Which is probably true.
Yeah.
And he seems to me to be excited about being that role. He's like one of those guys that kind of likes being the outsider.
Yeah.
Like...
He doesn't mind taking bullets.
No, not at all.
Doesn't even feel them, probably.
Like, he gets to go back to his constituency and be like, all you dudes ministering in, like, Southie Boston, where everyone's Catholic, or like, I'm in the heart of Brattleboro, Vermont, like the leftist town in the leftist county and the leftist state.
Is Vermont the leftist state, except for guns? I guess probably except for guns.
I think pretty much. There's Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. But except for guns. That's fun.
I mean, it's true.
Even Bernie's like...
When you're a rural state, you're like...
Yeah.
Coyote might kill my cattle. I need a gun.
Yeah. But there's parts of Vermont that are very conservative.
Yeah.
Especially like the Northeast Kingdom, where it's a kind of a vast nothingness.
Mm.
But it's Burlington, Montpelier, Rutland, Brattleboro, Bennington that controls the state and its politics. So anyway, got off track there.
I know. Have we been on track though?
No, I don't. Actually, we haven't. Because we literally went from Batman, and the DC universe to crusading Catholics
to rural
and
Vermont
the political
politics,
rural politics in a state that most people don't care about, except that it has Bernie, and sometimes Bernie runs for president.
And upstate New Yorkers like it for the leaves, right? Or I guess not upstate New Yorkers.
Yeah, people come up from Connecticut.
The leafers.
Connecticut and Mass and New York, and a lot of people come up from New York City in the winter for skiing. Green Mountains is a good place for skiing.
That's all you're good for, though.
Yeah, in their minds, that's what Vermont is. Yeah. It's a ski vacation.
Yeah, they don't even realize you get summers. There's it's always snowy there.
Yeah. And you have, all of us locals, as per usual, we have this love-hate relationship with the out-of-towners.
Yeah.
Because that's our economy.
Right.
Let's face it. It's a tourist economy. So we need them. But they also come and, they look down on us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very similar to the college town. Where, UMass has 30,000 students and growing. Their plan is to become as big as UT Austin, or Michigan. So you're looking at 70,000 people, and they've been growing. They've built since I graduated. They've built 3 new residential areas, and are building have given money to developers to build off-campus apartments. Mm-hmm. Right. So our economy is, and there's 5 colleges in a 10-mile radius. If those colleges and university were not here, no one would be here.
Exactly.
Right? Exactly. But also when they come into town, you're like, oh, son of a...
Yeah.
Now I have to wait in traffic. Now Target's sold out of everything. Uh-huh. And I mean, Target, when they came, it's like locusts went through that place.
It evens out over the course of the year, right? It's just September, August, when the college students first arrive.
It's a nightmare when they first arrive, especially first few weeks.
Yeah.
Or really the first week, because no one knows where they're going. If they, right, you're looking at parents who are trying to find their kid's apartment and just get out of the way. But literally until our Target will be wiped out until Thanksgiving, and it'll restock, and then it'll be wiped out again till Christmas, and they'll restock. And when they restock at Christmas, after Christmas, it's not winter clothes anymore. It's bikinis and beach stuff, because spring break is the next. Well, there's the Valentine's section.
Yeah, people got to get ready for Ash Wednesday.
Yeah. Right. So that. So and then in the summertime, you're I can go to Target and actually buy groceries and stuff.
Right.
You can't. Even when we order for pickup, it'll be because our kids love Go-Gurt, and so. And Target's the only place with the Go-Gurt flavors they like. So we'll do a mass Go-Gurt order, and then inevitably every other order they're no, sorry, we just sold out. And you're why are all these college kids buying Go-Gurt? But they are.
They love it.
Or that based on what the college kids are buying, they couldn't fit Go-Gurt on the truck this week.
Right. That's funny. That's funny. That's when Rachel and I honeymooned in Fort Myers, Florida. Mm-hmm. And we did it in August. And there was no strategizing going into it on my part. I just thought, I want to get engaged to you. It's January. I don't want to get married to you in the winter. I don't want to get married a year from now. We've been dating for 3 years. Let's just put a date on it. And I picked July 31st because it's an easy one to remember. And it was a Saturday. So... I didn't think that we would be honeymooning right after that.
Yeah.
In Florida, the first week of August.
Yeah. Ugh.
So it's like...
So you just were in a swamp for...
100 degrees.
100% humidity.
And the weather guys are saying, don't leave your house. Of course, nobody listens. But it's like the UV index is off the roof.
Well, it's like when they tell you here, like, please stay off the roads in the snowstorm. You're like,
yeah.
I got studs on my tires. I'm fine.
Yeah, but I realized that it was not that it wasn't an accidentally terrible decision, but that it was an accidentally brilliant, genius decision to honeymoon in Florida.
Because you got to stay
in August. So nobody's there. And it doesn't really matter that it's so hot because we just were beach bums for 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. So if we weren't in the air-conditioned car, we were in an air-conditioned restaurant. If we weren't in an air-conditioned restaurant, we were in the air-conditioned condo that we were staying at. If we weren't in the air-conditioned condo, we were on the beach in the water.
Yeah.
So we were never, like, exposed to the... So I'm like, I'm a genius. July 31st, honeymoon in Florida. No one's here. You know, that... Yeah. You know, that was the genius part, was, like, there were no, snowbirds.
Right.
The beaches were basically ours.
Yeah.
Because the locals are like, who cares? Beaches. Big deal.
Yeah.
They're like, who cares? The Gulf of Mexico. It's okay. It rains every day at 4.
Right. For like 10 minutes.
Yeah. Like clockwork. It's amazing. And you can literally schedule around it. It's so convenient. It's so convenient. You don't even have to look it up on your phone. You don't even have to pull your phone out of your pocket to see what the weather is going to be. You're just like, today it's going to be sunny until 4. Then it's going to be like the worst thunderstorm you've ever seen, but only for 10 minutes, and then it's sunny again. So you're like, we're going to get up, have brunch, because we sleep in.
Yeah.
Get up, have brunch, go to the beach until the thunderstorm, go to dinner, go to the condo, do it again tomorrow. And then 2 weeks of that is done. And you're like, I hate life. Why isn't that life?
Right. I know. His final thought is me and Shirley always fantasize about retiring on a tropical island and or like southern Spain. Because you like watch these shows, you're like, man, like their work is like 3 hours. So like, yeah, like opened my taco shop. I sold some tacos. Now it's time for a siesta.
Yeah.
Like, I want a mid-afternoon 2-hour nap.
Yeah, enough of this like Puritan Protestant.
Let's all stay up. Let the kids stay up till midnight, 1 a.m. too. Let's dance and have a drink and eat paella and tapas. And
yeah, let the government worry about democracy.
The government doesn't even worry about, like, I don't know, we're open 7 days this month.
Give me Catholic socialism. With siestas and tacos.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
No snow. What are we doing with our lives, Nate?
I don't know. I often think that.
It's very stressful to be an American.
It really is. The problem is, it's like actually pretty cheap to live in some of these tropical islands in southern France and Mediterranean areas, depending. Mm-hmm. But you need a lot of money to get there.
Right. Right.
So, it's going to be someday.
Well, it's a pretty good strategy then to just like save up until you're like, and like retire when you're
like 60.
58.
Yeah.
And then just do that.
Yeah.
It's not a bad life.
No.
Strategy.
No. You know, unfortunately, not unfortunately, we are coming up on time. But, you know, me and Sarah decided to have kids young, partially because we were like, man, you know, so Kiara is going to be 17, because I'm 43. And we're like, dude, by 45, we could have, like, all our kids could be gone. Mm-hmm. And then I have a 3-year-old because I met my soulmate, and they wanted a baby, and I was like, sure, what's another one? So we can't really retire till our 60s at this point, but still, 60s on a tropical island for the next 40 years.
Yeah, you're not going to be those grandparents that complain you never see your grandchildren.
No, we're going to be able to come to our island.
Yeah, get on a plane.
You're welcome here. Yeah. we got tapas.
Meanwhile, your son's like, I don't have grandchildren. I'm making money on the internet and doing nothing.
It makes it sound so pornographic.
Yeah. My bad. I'm not Pastor Porn.
I have a story about Christian porn.
Oh no!
I will tell you.
Yeah, let's save that one.
So just teaser before we end.
Yeah.
When I was a pastor, there was this couple who were porn stars who claimed to be evangelical Christians and would like witness to people and then like invite them to porn shoots. It was like this whole thing.
Oh, so like Christian in quotations.
They would claim that they were like
okay,
legit evangelicals, but they were nuts. I mean, I'm not going to find you clips of the porn because I never watched it at the.
Yeah.
But like there were interviews like because the news was like, okay, we got to run with this story, and they were legit whack jobs where you're like these two things are mutually exclusive. Like,
yeah.
Like you could have been a porn star, and then become an evangelical Christian.
And then stop.
Or you could have become and stop being a porn star. Or you could have been an evangelical Christian who stopped and became a porn star. But you can't be both at the same time.
Is the porn boss like, I'm not sure about your evangelical Christian past?
Like the Venn diagram is one circle over here and one circle over here, and they don't intersect. They don't even touch.
So much for like family.
Yeah.
Audience, whatever.
Right. We swear enough that I think you swear enough that
I think I swore more than you
in
the last 55 episodes, but I don't think I did this time.
Someone could count, and
I'm pretty sure I won.
Yeah, if they count, I will send them a free pound of coffee.
Nice.
Yeah, send us a DM on Insta.
If you count, I might even try and find that T-shirt. They will know we are Christians by our T-shirts.
Whoa. Coffee and a T-shirt.
Coffee and a T-shirt.
I think on that, we should wish everyone a wonderful week and thank them for listening.
Thank you.
Have a great week, everyone.